All right, so this is Building the Open Web podcast. Today we have Anton from 1inch.
Hi,
So maybe we can start with your background. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Russia, in Moscow.
And when and how did you end up in crypto?
I switched to crypto nearly 2.5 or 3 years ago. Before crypto, I was mostly working on C++, on C Sharp, some native applications, native for desktop. Then I switched to native for mobile, like iOS development. And 3 years ago, I came up to blockchains and was amazed on the things I can build, and all of them can interact with each other. I mean, what you can see now on DeFi was like magic for me. And I fall in love in smart contract development.
What was the magic part? Is it the composability, the fact that each one of them talk to each other, or more value exchange?
The most cool feature of writing smart contracts is that you can write like few lines, like few tens of lines or few hundreds lines of code. Just imagine you can write 1 or 200 lines of code, which could actually work with people with their funds. You can somehow manage their funds. If you will, for example, develop some cool algorithm of some kind of distribution of some revenue or some fees or something like this, something like staking. For example, I built staking smart contract for Synthetics project, where you can stake your liquidity pool token and you can receive in different token reward. And this smart contract do not have any loops in source code. So no matter how many users will participate, it will take the same amount of gas on each operation. Anyone can join, anyone can exit and grab its reward. And it actually could be like hundreds of people, thousands of people, even 1 million of people. And this smart contract will have like a constant gas consumption. Yeah.
Interesting. So what was the time you realized it's completely different? Is it just like that you cannot do anything like this before crypto?
Sure. When I, for example, wrote my software for desktop or for iOS, for desktop, it was like I was focused on writing efficient software, which works efficient on like CPU or sometimes on GPU. When I switched to iOS, it was about writing efficient code and like cool interfaces. I mean, user interfaces. And I also tried to keep my source code as short as possible, but it was not like very short code, it was like thousands of lines. But when I write smart contracts code, the number one feature is efficiency, because if you will write inefficient code, every user of your smart contract will pay additional gas for execution of these inefficiencies. But if you will also write huge code, like for simple project 1,000 of lines or a few thousands of lines, you will pay extra for audit. Auditing like 5,000 lines of solidity could cost you like yearly salary of some developers. So keeping your smart contract code as small as possible and as efficient as possible is like idea number one.
That's super interesting.
I actually can spend like a week on writing smart contract and make it like more efficient, having 20 or 30% less code. And this would be like a lucky week for me. So when you work on any other sphere, not in blockchain and smart contracts, I don't believe you could spend like a week on minimizing your software, optimizing your software, because when you're working on some product, the main idea is to deliver new features, But when you work on smart contracts, you could dedicate enough time to improve it. Like you can achieve like super efficient and super small code. It also seems like some examples of smart contracts like could be like good examples for books of programming.
Yeah, I wonder why we still don't have those books yet. Is it because the industry is too early, or?
I really don't believe in books. Maybe for 5 years, I believe that books are like obsolete and deprecated a bit, because what I see in last 3 years in smart contracts, that all this involves so fast that books cannot happen. I see some books which were like issued in previous year, and they have like information of 2 years behind of 2018. And if we will see some books this year, there will be a lot of information from the previous year. But because issuing like the book requires a lot of time, it's like half of the year at least. Usually it's like 1 year.
Is there a good website maybe to have all of it just in one place without publishing a book?
Yeah, I know some sites which are like collecting some information about current trend, which is called DeFi. It's like DeFiPrime.com. They're trying to collect information. Also, they have like different categories, and they try to educate people how to use it.
Mm-hmm. And which year did you join? So 2.5 years ago, was it?
It was September of 2017. I participated in a blockchain hackathon in Russia, in Kazan city, where Vitalik Buterin was invited also. There I built my very first smart contract. It was like my very first experience of writing smart contracts code, my very, very first smart contract. And I believe maybe it was one of the most complex smart contracts which I wrote. Because it contains like elliptic cryptography rewritten in Solidity, because some libraries did not work for me and I just rewrote them. And it was like smart contract for paying different entities for computing for you vanity Bitcoin addresses. So you can post a task where you can get some cool address, and anyone can brute force it on GPU and provide result to this smart contract and grab the reward. And it works like no one can see private key, only those one who order it, because it also uses like special scheme of adding public keys. So it's fully secure. It sounds like it should not work, but it's fully secure from elliptic curve point of view. You can submit task with public key, and anyone will brute force private keys, computing public keys, add it to your public key, and then compute address and check on its vanity. And when someone will found some vanity Bitcoin address with some cool prefix like one Anton, for example, it can submit private key to smart contract, but those one who order it will grab this private key and add it to original private key which he only owns. It's like adding two huge numbers to each other. When you add huge number which is unknown to anyone to a public huge number, you will get like unknown huge number, and it's like secure.
And where did you meet Sergey?
We have common friend, which I know him from like university, and he recently, like 4 years ago, he moved to Germany, and their wife of Sergey and wife of my friends, they were like friends, and with a friend of mine told me that he knows some guy who is like mining in Germany and always tell him about crypto, and he can't handle this because he's not interested in crypto, and he like introduced us to each other and told us that, guys, you should talk to each other. You both are talking me some strange things about crypto, but I'm not interested. Tell these things to each other. And that's how we first heard about each other. It was like in summer of 2018. And I heard that Sergey had a YouTube channel about mining. It was Cryptomaniac. And once I saw announcement that he's gonna read some smart contract without source code. So it's like digging into assembly. I was interested, so I just started watching him. And after a few minutes, I understood that I should help him because I have like experience in this and he don't have experience. So I tried to help him in Telegram during his live stream, but after maybe 5 or 10 minutes, we both understood that I just should join live stream and help. So that's how it started, and somehow we came up to idea to do security audits of smart contracts in live streams. I had 1 year experience at that moment of writing smart contracts. So I was able not only read source code, but also understand how exactly each line could affect, like security affect and other stuff. And since September of 2018, we did more than 100 security audits in live streams. Not all of them were in live streams, maybe 80%. So you could imagine it's like 4 to 3 hours live stream where we're reading source code and explaining each line of code how it should work to users, and also tell if there are some bugs or backdoors in these smart contracts, how user funds could be like affected.
And you also at some point started going to hackathons together?
Yeah, in December, we started from Singapore hackathon of Earth Global. It was at Singapore. So it was really exciting. It was my first hackathon outside of Russia. So it was really interesting for me. And it was really very first hackathon which Sergey participated in, because previously he just heard of this but did not try to participate. But yes, since that December, for the like all 2019 year, we participated in nearly to 15 to 20 hackathons and won like a lot of bounties on these hackathons. 2 times we got like main stage on S Globals. We won like prizes from Daimler, which is like Mercedes-Benz cars. We also participated in Germany in their hackathons. They were about blockchain. Yeah, so I'm not sure we like won a lot of money. I mean, all these trips and living in hotels, it's like participating in these hackathons were like self-sustainable, you know.
That's nice. And when did you start working on 1inch? On which hackathon?
We participated in New York in May of previous year, and I participated remotely from Moscow, just like helped Sergey. He was in New York because making visa from Russia to USA would took like many months, so I had not visa at that moment. But Sergey can just get visa with like filling online form because he's from Germany. So we like spend like 36 or 48 hours. I don't really remember the duration. So it was like a weekend. So over weekend, we built like a very first version of 1inch, which worked with Uniswap, Banker, and Kyber. So it had like 3 sources at that moment, and it worked.
And why did you come up with this idea? Was there a similar product on the market at this time, or there was nothing like this?
We never heard of anything similar. We later heard of Total. Someone told us that they started before we came up to this idea, but we don't heard of them. The idea came up. We came up to this idea like because I had always a problem when I had to swap 100 of bucks of some token. I usually just checked 3 dexes because you can get like $5 more if you will check all these dexes, or you will not get these $5. And this you could imagine, if you swap even 100 of bucks, you can get like $2 or $3 difference, or even $5 difference, and that's not cool. I usually manually checked all these 3 dexes and then decided where is the best price. And I also had in mind that Uniswap is like highly gas efficient. Kyber is not as much efficient and is similar to Banker, and they can cost you like a few bucks, but Kyber will cost you a few cents. But this also depends on the gas prices. And it was like very inefficient to have like 3 tabs to to trade, to do some swaps. It was not really about trading. It was just about swapping assets.
Were you swapping assets regularly at the time?
I don't really remember why I did some swaps. It sounds like I had like portfolio of maybe a few tens of assets like ERC20 tokens, and I just swapped them time to time. It was like swapping few times a week.
So it went live right after New York Hackathon, or it was just first version ready, but it was not like used by other people?
It was public, but we were not sure that much people tried it. We saw some transactions that people are trying to use it, and we like promoted it on the hackathon to some people, and we were sure that those ones who tried it were people who are related to the hackathon. They saw some tweets, saw some announcements, and just tried to check how it works. Initially, version we built was like showing all the prices. Then we did swapping on the best of the dexes, and then we also implemented splitting, because on each dex, the more you split, the worse will be the rate. But when you split your volume among multiple dexes and swap small volume on each dex, the final rate will be like better.
And when did you see a bunch of people starting to use it?
It's a interesting question, because we like have on-chain statistics on Dune Analytics. Dune Analytics is like software which have like SQL database on all Ethereum transactions, events, smart contract calls, and we built some dashboard to track our users, how they really work. And since we launched it in at the end of the May, I'm not sure we have any volume in May, but on the next month we got like 92,000 of bucks volume. It was huge volume for us because it was like 1 month old project, and we were really wondering how we captured these users. It was like 50 users.
And so then on the next hackathon, you decided to continue working on it?
We continued working on it like right after hackathon. So we started improving it, working on the user interface, adding liquidity sources, because on hackathon we had like 3 liquidity sources, but for now we have like more than 20 different liquidity sources. Some of them are available only for some exact pairs, because some sources have different liquidity, and we continued participating in hackathons, building different stuff, and in background we were working on 1inch.
And fast forward to today, it sounds like it's like getting like really significant part of the volume of the DeFi, correct?
Yeah, we noticed that volume grows, and maybe since July of the previous year, we saw that our volume doubled every month, and it was like it was cool, but it was really unexpected for us. And in the like February, we achieved like 50 millions of volume, and in March we had like 85 millions, and in April, for now I see we have 53 millions. It's like half x, 0.5x we did with last month. But we see that all the market did the same access. Volumes dropped with last huge dump, which was in March. But we see like a stable share of total volume. We have like 10 to 15% of total DEX volume.
And what's the future? What's your plan for 1inch? Like, where do you go from here?
We see that liquidity aggregation was like a very first step of 1inch platform, and we see opportunities to make a lot in lending, when people lend their funds in different pools, in one token pools or multiple token funds, and they can earn on swaps, they can earn on like rebalancing their portfolio, or they can earn on like benefiting from some complex strategy if they put in some interesting pools. We think that unifying all these pools into single interface is also a good challenge, and we're working in this direction. And we also have like a different functionality. It all started like liquidity aggregation for huge market orders, but for now we have like market orders, limit orders, pools functionality for adding liquidity. Also, we think on visualizing user portfolio, how much it earned in different pools in different periods. And we see 1inch is like DeFi aggregator. It seems like we are going to switch from DEX aggregation to DeFi aggregation, because we built some interesting tools on latest hackathons like 1xAG. It's tool which allows you to build any possible leverages on any possible tokens on top of any lending protocols. So on hackathon we built like leverages up to 4x on top of compound, but actually we can use any underlying lending protocol like Aave, DYDX, Fulcrum, DForce, and any other.
Mm-hmm. I know you also produced some content recently, right? State of DeFi, kind of explaining different pieces. Where do people can find it?
Yeah, if you're talking about my presentation, which was about DeFi primitives,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had like slides about different DeFi primitives. I believe it mostly fit for developers, but might be useful for some users. It's for better understanding what basic primitives are now in DeFi and which tools are now like extending these primitives. It's like clustering of DeFi tools. I segregated 3 different types. They were like tokenization, exchanges, and lending, and all other, not all, but some, most of other DeFi tools were like included into these categories. And I see that developers can build more interesting stuff by just combining these tools to each other. It's like fuzzing.
Interesting. And with new also protocols coming live, like sharded systems later on, how do you think it will change the dynamics of the space?
That's a good question, because I see that non-sharded blockchains are like limited in their capacity, in transaction capacity, in this means also user capacity. It looks like few hundred thousands of people can't interact with Ethereum on a single day, because this would lead like to exploding gas costs. And this is not only about gas costs. This is not about you can, if everyone will pay more, gas costs will like explode again. It's about when someone will stop using it and will not be able to handle this gas prices. So those one who will handle, they will use it. So when we are talking about like sharding versus non-sharding, you could imagine if like Ethereum mainnet is like non-sharded for now, and if we will increase its capacity in 5 times or 10 times, we will face the same problems in 1 or 2 years, when community who are using this DeFi will grow 5 or 10 times. But sharded blockchains is like a straightforward idea, because you could imagine if you will push single shard transaction capacity 5 to 10 times, if you will have like different shards of the same capacity, and number of shards could like scale when people will came to this space. That's a good idea, because Ethereum developers spend a lot of month on like optimizing their software, and I don't really believe that Ethereum version 1 can also increase the transaction capacity for more than like 2 or 3 times, or even 5 to 10 times. This is like a higher limit. Miners could vote on gas limit. For now, it's 10 millions. 1 year ago, it was 8 millions. They can increase it few times, but it does not sounds like scaling. It's not be scaled 10 times in 1 year, you know. But sharded systems can add shards when it's necessary on user voting, or automatically when they will see that transaction capacity is growing.
Mm-hmm. And did you look into maybe like layer 2 solutions? Is there something there that can help with scaling?
Yeah, I believe that some applications could use layer 2, but it is not much composable. I mean, two different layer 2 solutions can be composable to each other. So some interactions could be extracted to layer 2. That's okay. But if you need some tools which should interact with each other, like DeFi tools interact with each other, you need like layer 1.
I see. And I remember you also published at some point, just like overall, how to think about blockchain as a new honest actor. Maybe you can shortly describe how people should be thinking about kind of remapping relationships in particular use cases. What does blockchain kind of bring to the table, and what people need to do in order to really understand how it changes things?
Yeah, I did a presentation several times about how developers should think about blockchain when they try to integrate blockchain into their like real world applications. This is really matter because sometimes people think on blockchain as like decentralized database which can store something for them, and they can build like software based on this idea, store something in blockchain, but this is not actually a good idea because the main difference of blockchain with any other software is that blockchain is actually an actor. It's not like passive storage of records. It's active actor. When you interact with it, for example, if you interact with just Bitcoin, which is like simplest and the first blockchain in the world, if you will interact with it, what would happen? You can produce transaction, and this blockchain, like nodes of this blockchain, will check if you have like enough balance for sending this amount of assets. If you don't have this balance, they will like throw away your transaction. Then they also will check your signature is like a real user of this wallet, and if your signature is bad, they will like throw away your transaction. Actually, Bitcoin blockchain works like in different way. They have like UTXO, but I'm talking like on idea how it works like an abstraction with like balances, accounts. It's implemented in different manner with UTXO model, but I'm talking about abstraction. This matters. And when we're talking about smart contract based blockchain, the difference is that developers can write software for blockchain behavior. So you can like code, and people who will interact with this smart contract, they will ask this smart contract to do something, and this smart contract will check all the necessary conditions, and then will give them money or not give them money or produce some different result. This is what actually matters, that blockchain is an actor. And when you are going to use blockchain in some sphere where there are some actors, you have first to decide what you are going to fix with blockchain. If something is broken, first you should try. But if there are no problems, maybe don't even try. So, for example, if you will see that you will see like some problems, and they could be fixed, like some middlemen could behave not like honestly and earn on this a lot, you can try to use blockchain. But I'm not sure you can like replace some entity with blockchain. This is possible in some applications, but in most applications you can just add blockchain as new entity, as new actor, and you should also rethink from scratch on how all these actors will behave, and you should like provide scenarios for all of them. They should follow these scenarios to earn, and they should have like clear incentives behind all these actions. No one of these actors will do some actions if they will not actually benefit. It's like about optimization. No one will do actions without benefit or like future benefit from this. So main idea is that you should first understand how exactly all actors behave, what are the like incentives for each one. Then you can add some new role into existing relationships and should rethink from scratch on their interaction scenarios and their incentives. And only if you will like found a good consensus, you will have something working. If you will not find new good consensus for new scenarios, this would not work.
Mm-hmm. And where do people find more information about you on the internet or on Inch?
We are mostly like interacting with our community in Twitter and Telegram. We also started to write blog posts on Medium. We believe we could like educate people with our Medium articles to provide them enhanced information about DeFi and tools we are gonna build.
Well, thank you for coming today. That was really informative.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. You can find more episodes of this podcast at openwebcollective.com. If you're a founder looking for help with product, go-to-market, or fundraise, apply on the same exact website. It's openwebcollective.com. If you really like this episode, I would really appreciate if you give us a review on a platform of choice where you listen to podcasts to. And finally, if you're on Twitter, we are at OpenWebFounders. Again, the handle is at OpenWebFounders. I'll see you next week.